Alright, what's going on, everybody? Look, this video I'm gonna break down the differences between a Class 2 police officer and a full-time police officer. Hit the like button, share button, subscribe button, show some love to the video, to the channel. Can't do it without you guys. Alright, so depending on where you're at, you may have never even heard of what a Class 2 police officer. So I'm putting you guys on. Class 2 police officer is pretty much a foot in the door to try to get into a full-time police officer position. You're not in the pension. You're not in the pension system. You're not protected by the union, pretty much. So whatever incidents that you get into, whatever bullshit you get into on duty or whatever, you kind of just gotta either pay out of pocket if you gotta pay for your own lawyer. You gotta go your own way when it comes to that type of shit. But the union, the police union, the PBA, they not fucking with you. Not until you get certified as a full-time police officer. And that usually happens depending on the department, the police officer, who you are, by just doing your time. It's kind of like any job. You do a year, you do 2 years, you do 3 years. Depending on how long it takes, you get that interview. It may take 1 time, it may take 2 times, it may take 3 interviews for you to finally get waived to a full-time position. You get sent to a police academy, which is only going to be about a couple weeks long, depending on your department or depending on the time and everything, maybe another 6 months. And I'm going to talk about the academies and pay and different shit like that later on in the video, but that's pretty much the process of what a Class 2 police officer is. It's kind of like, look, you're just starting in, you're restricted to certain duties on duty, and then when you're off duty, you have no police powers. Nothing. You can't carry a gun on you. You cannot go around to the public, to businesses, to whatever, telling people, yeah, I'm a police officer, I'm a police officer. You cannot do that. Can't arrest people. You can't. So it's kind of like, yeah, like you're doing all the work as a police officer, but you don't have that protection. Whatever type of shit you like doing, you're going to start off at the bottom. You're going to be, you're going to do internships. You're going to do little bullshit runs. Then you're going to work your way up, and then, it's whatever. So when I was in Atlantic City as a Class 2, the biggest, like the main Class 2, however you want to put it, was called the TDU unit. That was the Tourism District Unit. That was all the casinos, the boardwalk, the beach, Pacific Avenue, all that type of shit where all the out-of-towners, all the tourists, all the bullshit, that's the Tourism District Unit. That was where we worked. Full-time police officers didn't really deal with shit up there. They weren't really getting calls up there because they were dealing with shit in the street. And that's the difference between the Class 2 and full-time. Full-time, they got that freedom. They made it. You know what I mean? So they're dealing with the real calls. They're doing they have patrol cars. As a Class 2, depending on the department, depending on where you're at, you're not gonna get a patrol car. It was rare that we got patrol cars. Like some of us, a lot of us, we piled up in a van and drove to one location and split up from there. And at the end of the shift, we all met up at the van and drove back. That's the difference. The pay is going to be different. No, I can't speak for what the pay is for a full-time police officer, but I can tell you when I was a Class 2 police officer, I started off at $15 an hour. The second year I was a Class 2, I got a bump from 15 to 18. If I would have been there for 3 years, you got bumped 18 to 21. Now I don't know if it's the same, I don't know if it's changed, but you max off at $21. That's it. I don't know what it is for a full-time, but it's kind of like that's that. But you also got to understand, as a full-time, they may be making less, but they work in details. They're getting more overtime. They're working the nightclubs. They're working different events. They're doing different shit that Class 2s aren't getting because you're a Class 2. So you're going to work your little, if you're not on the boardwalk or, the tourism district unit, you're probably going to be working in the courthouse somewhere. You're probably going to be working one of them, those positions where it's really, but there's not going to be a good chance you're going to be out on the street like that unless, the city needs you. The police academies are going to be different. All my videos, everything I talked about my police academy, like I've said, it was about 3.5 months long. I was in the accelerated program, so it was 6 days a week. We was kind of pressing a lot of shit. Full-time police academies are 6 months. And depending on where you're at, you're going to have to stay there, sleep there overnight. Spend your life there for the next 6 months, Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, you get to go home. But don't think you're going to be able to spend time with your girl, with your boyfriend, or do a lot of bullshit, go out. No, you're going to go home on Friday evening, and you're going to be ironing your motherfucking clothes all night. You're going to be getting your clothes ready. You're going to be studying for Monday. And you're not going to have a lot of time to be doing anything. I don't know of any Class 2 academies that you stay overnight. I've talked to you guys about my experience. I didn't have to stay overnight. I had to drive an hour every single morning there and back, but didn't have to stay overnight. Thankfully. It's probably ass. I'm not even gonna bullshit y'all. I should probably ass. Kind of mentioned how when you're off duty, you can't really arrest people. You can't consider yourself a police officer. You can't carry a gun on you, even if it's your service weapon. Even if it's the gun that you qualified for at the range with your department. Doesn't matter. You got to turn it in at the end of every night. So this is how my shift would go when I would go get my gun every morning or every afternoon. Go to roll call. I would walk in, go up to my sergeant. A bunch of other officers, they're already standing in line waiting to get their gun or whatever. The sergeant, he's behind his desk. Behind him is a big gun room. There's a room with all the guns, all the cameras, all the bullshit in there. He goes in there and he starts pulling out the boxes. You guys got no guns? You guys know the boxes, gun boxes. He starts pulling everybody. Everybody got their name on their gun. He starts pulling the guns out. We walk up, we grab our gun. I find mine, Rivera 5156. That was my badge number, 5156. Take it out. The gun is already going to be unloaded. The magazines are going to be out. There's going to be a bullet that's already going to be laying out, but the gun's not going to be loaded. I'm going to take it to the little loading range that's in the corner of the room. Boom, boom, shake it like that. I'm going to load it. I'm going to go on throughout my day, throughout my shift. At the end of the shift, I'm going to come back, same place. I'm going to go back to the loading range or to the loading area, the loading dock, whatever you want to call it, in the corner of the room. I'm going to unload my gun. Bullet's going to fall out and put it in my box. Get my box back to my sergeant, sign it out. He's going to put it back in his room, and then boom, I'm going home. Not going home with the gun. So that means not only are you unarmed, like whatever, like obviously. If you're a police officer, you want to be a tough ass with people, you want to talk shit with people, and you want to give people hard times, and while you're on duty, and you happen to run into them when you're off duty, right? Now, who's to say that criminals are supposed to fight fair, or if they see a cop off duty that they're supposed to just walk away and not say nothing? Because it doesn't happen like that all the time. And that was why I would always have a problem with that. It was kind of like, and even at the time, Atlantic City, they wanted us to live in Atlantic City so you could be considered for a full-time position. So it was like, all right, I'm Class 2. You want me to live here? But then I gotta go home. I can't even carry a gun. I'm seeing the same people that I just locked up 3 hours ago, and I'm still seeing it. Like, there's something that don't make sense to me. But that's why I'm not a politician. That's why I'm not in law enforcement or whatever, because I don't make decisions like that. And regardless to what a lot of full-time police officers may say, a lot of them started off as Class 2s at multiple departments, hoping that they could get somewhere and get that full-time position and really start off their career. So guys become full-time, they get that position, and they all of a sudden forget that they were writing parking tickets a year ago. You know, that they was getting beat up on Pacific Avenue by a crackhead or some shit. Like, they really forget about all that bullshit once they take that Class 2 patch off that I showed you in a couple of my videos back. And yeah, it's corny. It's really corny because it's like, not even like with that job in general, that job doesn't make the man. That job would never make a man in my eyes. It's because I've worked there, I've seen it. I know a lot of cool-ass, solid-ass Class 2s who were a lot more solid than full-time police officers. I know a lot of cool Class 2s that became full-time police officers, and they're still straight. They never let that shit get to them. They never let that job really affect them, because it's not that. It's a job. It's a job. Okay? It's all love. But the things that people do for that job and ways to try to sabotage others, whether it comes to interviews or, you know, just leaking info and detailing and to try to make sure somebody else doesn't get a position, or, you know, there's a lot of snakes in that job. So if you're a class 2, if you're in that position, you want to get that full-time position, go for that shit. But you got to understand, there's a lot of politics that's going to be involved. And you may be waiting for a year, you may be waiting for 2 years, for 3 years. You may, after 3 years, you may have to go to another department, do a year there, and but whatever it is, good luck. I appreciate the love. Catch you on the next one. Peace.